Now, there are some vulnerabilities for Mrs. Clinton, notwithstanding. This is something you have to hear. You have to hear this to believe it. You can't read about it and get the flavor. You have to hear it. You don't have to see it. I can paint the visual picture for you. Mrs. Clinton is being interviewed by Jacob Tapper on CNN. This happened last Friday. It was during a discussion about the controversy surrounding her private email server. Remember, this is just shortly after the Democrat debate where she supposedly skunked the field. She supposedly mopped that stage with all those other Democrats, and now it's just her. Oh, except Bernie Sanders is the guy who rose in the polls after the debate, not Hillary. Did you know that? Hillary did not gain any ground after the debate where she just skunked everybody. Nope, that was old Bernard. Bernard Sanders up in the polls. Details coming up. So anyway, here's Jake Tapper and Hillary talking about the discussion, the private email server. And Jacob is basically asking her reaction to some people and what they've said about it.
I know Bernie Sanders said that, quote, the American people are sick and tired of hearing about your damn emails. But there are a lot of people who are not.
Well.
Including FBI officials looking into whether national security was compromised because of this server.
That was it. I mean, that's all. She just laughed. She just laughed at it all, which is a Hillary technique. That, by the way, is the Arkansas broad beam. Back in the 90s, when we first encountered this cackle, we identified its source, and that is to be found in Arkansas wilderness areas. The Arkansas broad beam is the species here that utters this. Here, listen to the complete soundbite again, and she's just, her effort just laugh it off. It isn't serious. And, of course, she doesn't say a word. This is it. This is in toto.
I know Bernie Sanders said that, quote, the American people are sick and tired of hearing about your damn emails. But there are a lot of people who are not.
Well.
Including FBI officials looking into whether national security was compromised because of this server.
And it was all okay with Jake Tapper. He didn't care. She just kept there laughing and didn't answer. And I told Cookie, look, let's roll off the cackle. Let's loop it, just have it, because there's any number of ways we'll be able to use this. So don't be surprised if you... All right, okay. Then if she does something like that during the... I doubt it, but if she gets a question she doesn't want to answer, starts laughing as a way of diffusing it, and the low information crowd sees that, this does not look good. If you see this... You know, hearing it is even better because you're not distracted when you see. But it's just her sitting there with Jake Tapper. Now, she went to Hoover, Alabama Democrat conference on Saturday and spoke.
President, thanks to a lot of you in this room, I remember after that election in '92, him saying to me, it's so much worse than they told us. The debt of our country had been quadrupled in the prior 12 years. The deficits had exploded, and so he had to roll up his sleeves and work hard. And at the end of 8 years, we had 23 million new jobs. Incomes were rising at the top, the middle, working folks, poor people. And we ended up with a balanced budget and a surplus.
So she once again invokes the I no way tar. She goes down to the South and she starts speaking in this Southern drawl. Look, I could nuke the substance of this. This is classic. This is what every Democrat that assumes the White House says. You know what? They didn't tell us how bad it really was. And what she's talking about here, Clinton had promised, for you low information people, Bill Clinton promised a middle-class tax cut throughout the '92 presidential campaign. I mean, it was a linchpin. It was a tentpole. It was one of the main things that he was going to do, a middle-class tax cut. 3 months after he was inaugurated, press conference. You know what? I dug in there, and I worked as hard as I ever have in my life. They didn't tell us how bad this was. They didn't say deficit's twice as bad as national debt. I'm sorry, folks. I worked as hard as I rolled up the sleeves, but I just can't see it. We just don't have the money for middle-class tax cut.